Hey, welcome back, Friendship Small Groups. I hope you guys are doing good, and thanks for coming back with me. We got another video today. Today we're looking at Galatians chapter 4, and we're going to be in verses 8 through 20. Paul here is kind of switching gears a little bit. He's been looking at the law and grace and all of these things, these concepts for a little while now. But now he's kind of switching gears a little bit, and he's going to take us a little more personal, more thinking about you and I and our lives and what the Galatians were dealing with in their lives. And so today is going to be a little bit more to the heart, a little more personal, but this is where we're at. And so he goes through this long section where he's talking about their faith personally. And I want to zoom in on one key verse in this section, in verse 9. Here's what it says in verse 9. But now that you have come to know God, or rather to be known by God, how can you turn back again to the weak and worthless elementary principles of the world, whose slaves you want to be once more? And so Paul is making a point here. He's saying, think about your life. Think about where you have come from in your faith and where you are now. And think about all of the ways that you have grown and all the things that you have developed over the years of being a Christian, being a Christ follower. And this is what Paul is trying to tell them. He's saying, you have come so far. You now know who God is. You understand Jesus and his grace and all of these things that we've talked about. And yet you want to turn back? You want to go backwards? Why are you going backwards? Go forwards. Go with God, not against God. Don't go back to the ways that you used to be before you were a Christian. That's what he's trying to get across on his point here. But here's his big ideas that I think is how I take it anyway. Of Paul's trying to remind us that we all have habits. We all have different habits. And habits can either be good or bad. There's good habits. There's bad habits. But we all have these kind of habits. For good habits, there's lots of good habits that people do. Maybe it is as simple as hopefully all of you brush your teeth every day, right? That's a habit. That's something that you don't really think about. You just do. It's a habit that you have formed over the years of constant repetition. Brushing your teeth is a good habit. Some of you have a good habit. Maybe it's reading the Bible, right? Maybe it's something else. Whatever your good habit is, it's something that you don't have to work at really. It's just something you do. It's something that you do. Some of you are gym rats, and right, just working out is just a good habit for you. But there's also bad habits. There's things that we do that we know we shouldn't do, or things that we just do without really thinking that it's not really beneficial in any way, right? Some people just have bad habits of biting their nails. Like, that's disgusting. I don't understand it. But it's just a bad habit. Like, some people just do it. It's not really harmful, but it's not beneficial. I mean, anyway, it's just kind of gross. There's other bad habits out there. Like, you could go to the extremes. If you could be a drug user, a hardcore drug user, that's a bad habits. You should not be doing those things. There's all kinds of habits that we have. Right? Whether they're good, whether they're bad, we're creatures of habit. We do things, and sometimes we do things without thinking about them. And Paul's point here is, remember where you came from. Before you were Christians, you had all of these things, these bad habits, these things that you did, this sinful life that you lived, and now you have come to know God. You have become a Christian. You understand what Jesus is about, and through that, you have left those slavery things. You've left those bad habits, or at least you should have left those bad habits. That's what we call repentance. And so leaving those things and moving forward. But Paul's saying, but we are creatures of habit, and sometimes we look back. Sometimes we go backwards, and we find ourselves still fighting those same sinful habits. And he's saying, why would you want to do that? Don't put yourself back into a world of slavery. You are free from those things. He talks about it in Galatians. He talks about it in other places, that you have been set free from this life of slavery to these sins. You can beat them as a Christian. And so Paul's making this point to the Galatians, and he wants to remind us that we are God's people. We just looked at it last few weeks, that we are adopted into his family, that we are part of his family. And so let's live like that. Let's develop some good habits where we can follow God and ignore and leave behind the bad habits that we once did before we were Christians. That's big. That's the big idea that Paul's trying to make. So here's questions for you for your group time, for small group time. It's really just one question, but it kind of has two parts. What are some of your good habits that you have? And then what are some of your bad habits? Go around the room, go around the circle, and talk about what some habits are that you have and how maybe we can help each other develop some good habits and maybe do something together as a small group that you can rely on each other for to develop a good habit. So talk about those amongst your groups. Have a great group time, and I hope to see you guys on Wednesday. See you later.